It's April 27th, 2024. I, yesterday, on the 26th of April, um, I lost another uncle. Um, Stevie died yesterday. Um, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, Bobby died. Um, and it just, in this moment of just knowing, like, I arrived to, like, the Gunders with 10 in that family unit. And just thinking, um, just how lucky, like, they were to have each other. Again, I'm an only child, so it's a completely different dynamic, but um, from a very early age, mindfulness of those sorts of things were important. Um, and then now, as I'm viewing how the world around me has changed, outside, stepping outside the front door and into the world just beyond the house, we lost Cliffy way too young. Um, so, and then I'm thinking of my own physicalness and health at this point, which I put on a lot of weight. I'm having a real hard time, even though staying active is becoming more difficult. Um, in the superior region um, of my knee, like in the quadricep area, but where the quadricep has the connective tissue. I don't know if it's in the connective tissue or if it's in the muscular. It's at the conjoining part on my left lower extremity. Um, when, first of all, lifting this amount of weight up the stairs has become increasingly difficult. But I've also, there's a clicking sound, and it's not clicking in the knee. It is the most bizarre phenomenon. It's actually clicking in the muscle, somewhere between the muscle and the connective tissue, just superior to the knee capsule. So I don't know what that's about. I've been taking multivitamins. I noticed I was getting these one multivitamin that actually had selenium in it. They tasted medicinal, but I felt like there were, like, physiological health changes that were in a positive direction. And then all of a sudden, CVS stopped selling them. Linda was able to get them once, and then they haven't had them in 4 weeks. They haven't had those vitamins. And they're not even an adult multivitamin. I had to go to the kids section to find a sufficient multivitamin. Um, it's like, I on some, and I even had, like, one of the community members came in to Stop and Shop, and he said something about sugars and ice cream, and I looked at him and I'm like, I don't even know how to read the labels. Like, the metrics are so, like, I don't know the matrix or the metrics on what they've got going on nutritionally. I'm at a disadvantage. I haven't been able to figure it out. Um, then later, or the following day, I was inside and there was someone who was about Alex's age, um, who's working now at the food store. And I was speaking to him. He was eating a protein bar. And so I was asking him about it. I was like, what does that mean to you? Like, why that one? And it was a cost benefit for him. But then I was like, and then he started speaking Matrix that I guess he learned. And I was like, now, can I ask, like, where'd you learn that? like that conversation, like I'm just curious because like I mean, I've been completely withheld from like my own generation or the generation before. And then I was watching Bill Maher today, and Bill Maher mentioned something about like sucking all the wealth and advantage away from one generation to feed the needs of an older generation, and then becoming like their nutritional supplement, which is kind of where I feel like this disgusting journey to humanity has become. Um, so I don't know what to say about that, but physiologically, I'm having a problem. I can't find a balanced multivitamin, even though there's like 1,000 of them. I don't know which ones are good, which ones aren't. Um, and that's a problem. This week on the news media, not social media, but news media, like the American media, they had on something about milk, which in my local area I already know, and I've put on social media that I'm having a problem with it. I just don't know where to take it and what the safe avenue of like whatever. And then there's this brand of chicken, which if anybody searched Linda's Stop and Shop credit receipts, they'd know that the brand of chicken that she buys, it's a frozen brand. Now they're coming out that there's salmonella on it. Now, again, I went to NCC. I took medical microbiology twice, and the updated course of the version with the Princeton text. Um, I sat through the course, so I am whatever about it. Do I think it may be something other than salmonella? Is salmonella like the key dog whistle word that they're allowed to use amongst all of the really large popular money making schematics where I seem to be like the least of the concerns of the whatever? Possibly. So, I noticed that, which I'm going to make mention of. Um, I'm inside of this Queen's properties at the moment, um, inside the United States of America, with a ONE and an In God We Trust and a Federal Reserve note, along with Jackson, and the White House is on the back of that. I also noticed um, there was this World War II veteran who served under General Patton, um, who received an award while he was still alive from France. And he's also a veteran that lives inside of Queens, New York. So I was really happy to see that France recognized him. Um, he tells his story. Um, so just in the monumental motion of whatever's going on. And then sidebar, Llewyn Lin found this YouTuber. So I guess he's got his own podcast. He's up in the wilderness. Um, and he just has this way about him. I don't really know much about him. It's just like his key like call outs are that he's building this cabin and then he wants to find a wife so he can have 10 kids. Um and he had Lynn keeps saying how handsome he is, and it makes my father so upset. And so it's just sitting in the living room with the two of them. And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, there was someone I met once at a gym. I was like, and I told them the story about Eric on the treadmill and how when it was like asking for a phone number, and then just like he was so handsome I just glitched, like if I was a computer animated whatever, like I literally in real life was like, I mean, in my improv moment of being like brave and asking like the best looking guy in Ronkonkoma for his phone number, because that's where I was at the moment in World Gym. I mean, Brendan was there. Brendan knows that I said he was like the best looking guy in Ronkonkoma because that's where we were when we met. But anyhow, so I told Lynn and Lou, and I'm like, it's funny. It's like drove the same car as me, except in the higher class. I was like, and just, but it was the exact color, like model. I was just, it was absolutely amazing and like things that didn't dawn on me at the time, but like I was really impressed to say the least. Um, so that happened this morning, but he has this man in this cabin on this that's building this log cabin in a very rugged terrain. He just was like the caliber of interesting that there's like a quality of like the strong silent type that Eric was for me in that moment. Like again, like I don't know if like he left the gym and he's just talkative all the time. I wouldn't know because that's not the side of him that I saw. But again, in that one setting, he just had this very Eric quality about him. So again, he's on YouTube in his interestingness, like Lewis and Linda discovered him on YouTube, and he comes out with a new podcast every Saturday about building this cabin, and they sit down and they watch it again, because on the regular television there just there's, and I don't even know if like eye candy is the correct word or terminology, but it just feels like the mainstream media has put on all of these shows, and it is, oh god, it is just so, I mean, black and white, when it was black and white before Technicolor. I mean, they really chose like model agency beauty. Like they really, it looked like somebody actually cared before you went on camera. I mean, again, who am I to talk? I look like I shop in a homeless bin, but um it is whatever it is at this point. But I just feel like the slide from where it was when television first came out, and like the excitement and looking forward to like the one movie and the Nickelodeons in the movie theaters, to like now having this ability to just binge and all of it just being nothing really relevant or important, certainly nothing shaping the future. It's going completely in the opposite direction of where it needed to be on course, but here we are at the whatever, whatever, whatever. So I'm gonna look up on the television about that salmonella, knowing that's something about the avian flu or the bird flu. But for me in the local area with the milk containers, when I open and pour a gallon of milk, just a little bit of it, and put it in the microwave to heat it to make a latte for myself at home, it just smells of burnt plastic. And I don't know how that's relevant to bird flu or aviation flu, but it seems significant. So I'm going to pause this for a second and go up to the television for reference. All right, so this is on channel 7. Again, I'm in this flag area.
Rules are being issued to some of the nation's largest producers of frozen chicken. The USDA this morning mandated that companies will need to reduce the amount of salmonella bacteria.
Now, if I was in my own house with my own kitchen with my own children doing the mother thing like I did for many, many years, this would have never been purchased. This is something my mother discovered. This is something my mother does out of whatever the deteriorating health is in this area. And I'm not allowed for some reason in her kitchen. She takes over and she's very territorial about it. So here we are.
In their frozen food products to help prevent food poisoning. Seems like a no-brainer, right?
Right.
The rules surround stuffed chicken meals that appear to be fully cooked like chicken cordon bleu, but are not. According to the agency, products that exceed pre-approved levels of salmonella cannot be sold and are subject to recall. No regulations take effect in 2025.
Well, the Secret Service announced today that they're launching a new operation to combat fraud that costs Americans more than $1 billion a year. It's called Operation Sandblast. ABC News had exclusive access as agents blanketed Las Vegas searching for skimming devices that are often found at ATMs and self-checkouts. In this sweep alone, they found 18 skimmers. Law enforcement sources say they strongly believe this is all part of an organized crime ring coming out of Eastern Europe. So what are some of the red flags that the current credit card machine that you're about to use may be compromised?
You suspect that there might be something in here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This bracket right here, the screw is missing.
When you are using your credit card, does the machine...
So that's one of the things. I'm going to pause this for a second and then go over to, they had something on about romance scams. And I'm not even going to go into the whole crazy donkey or blacksmith part of it, especially after in high school when I would have preferred to have been introduced to reputable persons for lifelong commitment. Instead of that, I was being brought to Florida and then back home with very little recall of the event. And then prom with Joe Cardinal and Hamptons happened, which also I have very little recall of that night and that event. And that's just, and that was like 93, 94, just prior to then the season of looking for a person to marry, but just getting like almost like rerouted and totally cut out of being around, almost like being encapsulated and imprisoned by whatever is going on in New York, and taking like, oh, it's horrible. It just is. Now this is CBS 2, so I moved from Channel 7 to Channel 2, and this is a piece. Now, they have a weatherman on. I don't know how, first of all, he got into New York airspace to be on television. I don't know who chose him. And again, at presidents of large company and media and corporations, why are they incorporating these really dangerous tactics of persons that in other cyberspace, in other countries of origins that are not us, not the US, they have them on some of the television showing exactly how they partake in romance scams and to try to take money away from tax-paying Americans and funnel it to outside outside like country. So again, there's this, I don't really know where they're or how they're putting weathermen and persons that are not part of like US Treasury federal note inside of US American airspace for media purposes. And again, I'm in a 26 letter language system in alphabet.
This is CBS 2 News This Morning.
Right now here on CBS 2.
Okay, So it starts with 3 pictures of college campuses rioting. The first one is City College. Then it says New York University. And then it says Columbia University. And it says unrest on campus. Now, interestingly enough, with this 107, I was watching the shuttle Columbia. And on there, which is a NASA Origin space shuttle, spacecraft, they had STS-107 on there. And that was the one that blew up. I'm just saying, they had some kind of reconstructed whatever. And when I was watching it, I was like, oh no, on the footage, I was like, no, isn't that interesting? It says STS in a 107. And then now, of course, this entire thing that's going on in Israel is surrounding this October 7th, which is 107.
The unrest on college campuses in the city. Demonstrations at NYU, City College, and Columbia continue. We're back outside Columbia this morning with the latest on what students and administrations are asking for.
Plus, a health warning for people in 2 Brooklyn neighborhoods, why they could be exposed to potentially poisonous vapors, and what's being done to fix it.
And a recognition decades overdue. The special honor that France, the country, gave a World War II veteran from Queens.
Good morning, everyone.
And not only is he from Queens, he's from Bayside, it turns out. Okay, so now here's the weatherman. He's new. So, like, he just arrived at CBS. I don't know who chose him, how he got to be the weatherman. But again, inside New York airspace, within the cyberspace, and within the media, it looks to be like a potential problem based on other weatherman scenarios and like models and agency going on.
Viku this morning in his summer suit because we've got some summer-like temps to look forward to, don't we, Tom?
Yes, and it's coming soon, guys. Last couple of days, kind of cool, cooler than average for sure. But if you are ready for some warmth like I am, you're going to love the temperatures in store. But this morning, we still got to, kind of...
Like, again, Tom Hanks did a movie. Not only where he was a pilot that was in trouble and then landed on the Hudson, just so the words and the spelling, and there was like a big deal made out of it, but there was that. But also, he did one where, and I don't know if it was the same one because I never watched it, something about pirates on like, so he did like an air movie and then a sea, like a land movie.
Get out of this cool feel. I will say a lot of sun early got you quickly out of the 30s. Good morning, Precipita. You closing in, you'll be at 50.
All right, so I'm going to pause this for a second and go to the romance scams. Okay, so this says happening now. It goes to the bridges and tunnels, and then it goes to these romance scams where this one woman, who's a veteran's wife, got scammed after he passed away.
Closures on several bridges and tunnels could add some time to your drives this weekend. They include parts of the George Washington, Bayonne, and Goethals bridges. Lanes will also be closed on the Outer Bridge Crossing and the Holland and Lincoln tunnels. We have all the information on lane closures and times on our website, cbsnewyork.com.
Well, this is not what you want when you're looking for love online.
No.
We've reported on a number of online dating scams now. The CBS 2 Investigates team has found some victims are getting preyed on for a second time.
And it comes as they think they are getting help. Tim McNicholas has details.
This was my husband and I when we were 17.
Connie Rotolo's 45-year marriage created some of the greatest joys of her life.
When our second granddaughter, Ava, was born.
But when it ended with her husband Al's death,
he was very sick.
That joy turned to grief at the worst time, during a pandemic while she was stuck in her Nassau County home.
Being alone, not having a network with you, not being able to go out. It was kind of lonely.
Rotolo found comfort in a Prince Charming she met online who flooded her with compliments and photos of his supposed engineering work in the Philippines. But after 6 months, he started urging Rotolo to send money to help him allegedly avoid dangerous people who might harm them both. $468,000 later, she realized she'd been scammed.
It's been on me for 3 years, and every day I beat myself up. How stupid are you, Connor? You're an educated person.
She turned to some of the romance scam support groups popping up all over Facebook. That's where Rotolo found people saying they worked for the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center and could get her money back.
No upfront fee of any kind.
But eventually, in her desperation, she says she sent them money too, only to later realize they were also scammers.
I wish I had the person in front of me. I would really, bad things would probably happen. I would be arrested.
CBS 2 Investigates took a look at online romance scam support groups. Many of the groups we found were full of people making other questionable promises of recovering funds. But experts say after you fall for a romance scam, the money is often long gone.
Oftentimes people come to us, and because they have used a wire or they've gotten gift cards or they've done Bitcoin, we can't get the money back. And sometimes the actors are not even in the United States.
Back in December, a Bronx woman was convicted of laundering more than $2 million for romance.
What I don't understand is, why is there not a barrier? Like, if the IP address is coming from somewhere outside the scopes of the founding fathers' 48 interior continental states, why is there not some kind of interstellar firewall that prevents and protects the interior from the exterior? I don't understand why they didn't build the internet with that level of sophistication and ironclad protection for like what is inside of the United States. But then that also leads to, why are the airlines so prolific in allowing countries I would never visit to enter the United States, or for people to leave? Like, why is there so much international travel? I think that they've gone way too far with liberty and travel. I mean, if you want to travel interior in the United States, to have access to that, that's one thing. But to have so much exterior travel, I mean, when it was down to they had to be on ships in order to get back and forth, at least there was a slowing of the progression and an easier time for the policia and for the police and the whatever. But this mass migrations and movements are really frightening. I feel less secure today than I did when my grandfather was alive.
And scammers based in Nigeria. Meanwhile, Rotolo says she has no idea where her alleged scammer is based.
This one, I think we were engaged.
Still, Rotolo is hoping investigators can track down whoever scammed her so they can't prey on the brokenhearted anymore.
This guy promises of love and all kinds of things that at a bad time you are hearing, and it feels good to you. It's like an addiction, really.
The Manhattan DA's office says it is important to spot the warning signs and then cut off contact with the scammer. If someone takes an immediate, overwhelming interest in you and then later urges you to send money, for example, that is a red flag. CBS News has been investigating these scams nationwide, and you can find the extensive coverage on cbsnews.com.
You know what else feels like a red flag? The desensitization of the American media, with all of like the prime time shows now having actors and models on there that I would never hire. Like, if we were to scale back on digital everything, I mean, I don't understand why they are. I mean, it is like visual spectrum warfare on the television nowadays. Not back in the day when it was black and white, but now it is. And it's so proliferated. I mean, it's like this massive desensitization. And it's like, well, how do I protect myself and my children? I mean, I still have yet to be able to find like a reputable person to spend time with. I still have a problem with the blacksmith, but again, I've had trouble, barriers to entry into employment, to education, to marriage. I mean, it has been at every stint or every attempt of mine in order to live a normal, natural lifetime. It has just been blockade and barriers at every single attempt. And that is so debilitating and disheartening. And it is signs of red flags on like so many scales. And I don't even know where to go with that. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.